Alrighty guys, welcome back to Redstoning with Steve, and this episode we're going to be going over minecarts, and more specifically redstone with minecarts. And this episode was actually based off a suggestion from not my last LP episode, my one before, from William Twentyman, who suggested I go over redstone and minecarts. So that's exactly what we're going to do, and we'll jump straight into it. So as I mentioned in my LP episode, this is actually my second time recording all of this. The first time, the sound option wasn't checked in DicoTheRedstoner and there was no voice commentary whatsoever. So I had to scrap all of it, re-record it. But now I know what I'm going to say. I've got everything set up perfectly already, as you can see. We're going to go over all of this. And yeah, it should be nice and quick, hopefully. So, because I tend to ramble a bit in these and I don't like doing it. So how this episode's going to run first off is I'm going to go over some basic stuff, which is this stuff here. The stuff at the back is some more complicated redstone minecart stuff. And then lastly, I'm going to go over a minecart device built by a popular Redstoner YouTuber, if you can call them that. So we're going to start off with the basic stuff, and I'm going to assume you know most of the basic minecart stuff. You know, minecarts, you can get in them, you can get out of them, they move on tracks. I'm assuming you know that. The different rail types, we have the detector rail, which essentially acts like a pressure plate. As you can see, it'll power the redstone below it as such, and anything next to it. So it'll power that, and it will also power that as well. Just like that. Very, very simple. Next, we have the curved rail, which can be powered from below. And you can see the curved rail track switches. Above works. But weirdly, that doesn't work. You cannot put a torch next to it and activate it. You have to do that. It's a bit of an odd behavior. I'm not really sure why it's present. I think it's the only redstone device that behaves that way, so a bit odd. So next we move on to powered rails, which act very, very similarly to the curved track, except they're actually more responsive because you can use a redstone torch next to them, and they're also powered like that and like that. Activator rails, exactly the same. I think activator rails currently are only used to activate TNT minecarts, and also I think they function with hopper minecarts. We won't go over activator rails in this episode. You can look at them for yourself. Hopefully they add a bit more functionality to them, because I don't think there's too many uses for them at the moment. So hopefully they add a bit more. The last thing I want to mention about tracks is that you can push tracks with pistons. I believe there was a point in the game where you couldn't. But now they are just treated as normal blocks. As you can see, you can push them and you can retract them. The thing I want to mention is that they function a bit differently with minecarts. Because a minecart is considered an entity, so entities are stuff like any friendly mob, any items are entities, even the player's an entity. Me here, I'm an entity. So you can push them with pistons, but you can't retract them, so it just kind of leaves the cart just stranded there. However, then you can push the track back and the minecart will kind of snap to the track. One thing I want to mention, another thing I want to mention is that if you push a rail and it's over an invalid spot, it'll pop off as such. However, if you put a block there that makes it a valid spot, it will push as such. And the other thing I want to mention is that you can put blocks in them. Rails are just other blocks, so you can do that. And you can also do stuff like this, which is my last thing. And you can see it's powered there, not powered there, because this block is powered. So nice and simple. Let's move on to the more complicated stuff. So the real main point I'm trying to get to here about using redstone with minecarts is that redstone allows you much more control over minecarts than you would otherwise have. And yeah, it just allows you to do stuff like dispense minecarts to you automatically, just through a push of a button, instead of you having to go get a minecart, place it, and stuff like that. And it allows you to push them to different areas, and it just allows you full control to put your minecarts and make them go wherever you want them to go. So keeping that in mind, the device you have before you is, and it's pretty much an archaic device now. It's extreme classic. This is extreme nostalgia mode right here. This, right before you, is a Pez dispenser. Now, I'm not sure if all of you will know exactly what that is, or if you have ever seen one before. Notable people who've used them, Etho had one back in his old LP world, is probably the most notable example. I can't remember if Doc M had one. I'm just thinking of the guys who had LPs going, 2 years ago when these were popular. Basically, this entire device can now be expressed in the form of this. They do the same thing. And actually that device over there is an example of one of these, a modernized version. But we'll get to that in a sec. This is a Pez dispenser. I'll show you how it works quickly. So what you want to do first is you want to dispense minecarts in. As such, so you can see we've got a stack of minecarts. The minecarts are a bit weird these days because they don't like to stack on top of each other as nicely. But I think I tried this in the other direction. They were going diagonal or something. It's a bit odd. The minecart coatings change, which is a little annoying. But this is a nice stack. And basically what happens is you've got your 1 tick pulse here. I even did an old version of a pulsar, a 1 tick pulse, just because I wanted to feel nostalgic. I don't usually use this version. And it's a silent one as well, which is nice. So you send a 1 tick pulse to the trapdoor, which is what the minecarts are sitting on, obviously. And it should be noted that you have to have the trapdoor on the bottom, because if you have it on the top, and I'm over here, if I open the trapdoor, I'm still on the hitbox. But on the bottom, you just fall through because the hitbox is, you can only stand on the top of the trapdoor. And, oh, did I bump it there? No. So what happens is the trapdoor opens and closes very fast, and in that it allows this minecart to just drop through the top of the hitbox, but doesn't allow any of the other minecarts through. So very simple, and it'll dispense your minecarts for you one by one. Man, this is so nostalgic. You would not believe. Actually, my third video I have one of these in, and in fact the next device, which we're going to go over next, I had both of these in my automatic minecart station, which is an old video of mine. I think it's my third video. Go check it out if you really want, me 1.5 years ago. I think it is now. Whoa. That's a long time ago. But yeah, don't expect too much. But yeah, I had both of these, so you can go check out that video if you want. I may have it on the screen. I may not. Who knows? If you want to see these in action. So I think we'll move on to the next one now. So this device is also an old device, and I'm sorry about doing all these old devices, but they kind of demonstrate well how you can utilize Redstone to control minecarts, even though you can combine these into the next design there, which I'll go over in a sec. What we have here is a drop-off point for minecarts. It's an exit. It's the end. It's a station, I guess you could call it. It's the end of a line, and it allows you to get out of the minecart, and then the minecart is pushed over and then goes off, over there somewhere. So usually you'd have this go into your Pez dispenser so you could dispense it. But this is an end station. So what would happen? And unfortunately, this doesn't work. It actually is an identical copy of what I have in that original video I was talking about just a second ago. And with the recent, not even recent, with the changes implemented in Minecraft 1.2, which I've complained about before and will refrain complaining about again, pistons no longer push entities properly. So it's a bit annoying, but I think you can get an idea of how it works. So what you do is you get in your minecart, you'd write to the end, and you can see we're stuck here. It's diagonal, it's a bit odd, but whatever. And because we're in the minecart on the stone pressure plate, we are activating the pressure plate. However, when we get out, it worked. Oh, no, it didn't. I thought it worked for a sec there. Yeah, you can see it's just stupid. But only when you're in the minecart on a stone pressure plate do you activate it. So when you get out, this is a falling edge trigger. So only when you get out of the minecart does the minecart get pushed. And Will that work? No, you can see because the minecart is slightly stuck inside the piston, it will never push it. And you can even see the minecart is getting pushed and then, whoa, okay, just, yeah, very inconsistent. It was getting pushed and then sliding back slightly, so it's very, very silly how it works. But that's how it works. Also my design, I like it. It's a good demonstration of how you can use pistons to push minecarts around, or used to be able to, if Mojang would fix their piston coating. So I'm not going to complain about it. I think it's a pretty cool design. Again, falling edge trigger, which means it only activates when you depower. So when you step off the pressure plate, it'll power. So very nice design. But both, as I said, both of these designs can be combined into the next design, which we'll go over now. So this next design is the modern version of the minecart station, and it looks boring. Let's be honest. Like, these were beasts. They looked awesome. This is just boring. Unfortunately, it's 100 times better, and you should never use any of these ever again. Basically, what you've got is a minecart. Minecart's in a dispenser, should I say, and it dispenses it onto these. Onto these rails, and when you press this button, it activates this dispenser and activates the rail. So it does that. And when you get to the end of the rail, you have the hopper here. And I'll go quickly to survival mode, game mode 0. And you can see it gets to the end of the line. You break it, and you can see it disappeared. It actually went into the hopper and then went back into the dispenser. So there we go. So pretty basic design, very easy to use. So I highly recommend you use these for every single minecart station you ever use, and never look at these again. So very nice design there. And now we'll move on to the next design, I guess. Now, I did lie slightly when I said I was only going to feature one YouTuber's design. This is actually a design made by a guy called DicoTheRedstoner. I'm not sure if you've heard of him, but if you haven't, please go check him out. Amazing Redstoner. The reason why I say it's not quite his is because I did build it. However, it is his design, so don't get any illusions that I designed this or anything, that's just not true. So basically, this is a minecart cross intersection. So we have, and I've lost the minecart apparently, so I've got to get a new one. There we go. So we have the minecart running as such. It can run up and down very, very easily. But when you run a minecart this way, you can see it can run up and down this way extremely easily as such. So what's going on here is when it goes over this detector rail, this pops out. I think firstly this retracts, so it breaks this line, and then when this pushes out, it connects to this rail, and then this rail says, oh, instead of staying connected to this rail, it says, well, if I go this way, it'll form a complete line, because it'll go here, 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 and you can see it updated like that as such. And actually, it'll update any way it can form a complete rail. So that's how it works. I think it's a pretty cool design. It's not too complicated, actually. All you have to do is have the pistons inverted, so when one's activated, the other one's not, and hook it up to a detector rail 2 before the cross intersection. I'm not particularly sure if it is a useful design, but if you're in need of space, I guess you could utilize it, and it's just cool overall. So I thought it was a nice design to go over. I like it very much. When I saw it, I thought it was really cool. So that's about it. Go check out Dico's channel. He's doing some cool stuff over there, including some huge doors. Mostly his stuff is piston doors, and he is very, very good with them. So make sure to go check him out. I'll have the link in the description and on the screen. Now we'll move on to the last design, which is the Redstoning YouTuber design. So we'll jump over to the other world, and I'll meet you there. So as a few of you have probably figured out, I'm doing another Mumbo design. I don't know. They're just nice. They're easy to build, easy to use. nice to look at. It's pretty, you know. And it was a smallish design. I didn't think I could make a whole episode out of it, so I'm just slotting it in here at the end. Looks pretty complicated, but not actually too hard. It just looks complicated because it's very compacted, that's all. So what we have here is actually another intersection, actually. Similar to Dico's, but it's not a cross intersection. It's actually just a vertical intersection. So we have the straight path here. You can see we launched the minecart off into the void there. And we flick the lever, and now we have a vertical path, as we can see. See you later. So that's how this works. And it's actually pretty simple in what it does. However, what makes this difficult to build is the way the tracks update. So from this state here, the double piston extender is going to retract this rail. The reason it's a double piston extender is because if we simply retract the rail to here, it actually attempts to go uphill. So I'm going to mess up, or last time I did this, something here messed up, so I'm not sure if I want to mess with the design. But basically, we retract it. This rail goes to here. If this rail was still here, it does that. And then when this pops down, because this rail is connected to there, and it no longer has a valid block to do that on, the rails don't, when that happens, the rails don't actually just pop down to the normal rail, they just pop off. They don't like being like that, so they just pop off and just screw up the system, basically. And the same goes for this piston here. It's exactly the same functionality. When you want to retract, this rail comes back first, obviously, and before this retracts, this piston has to pull back this rail, because if this were to just retract, this rail would pop off. So we can see the order. So this piston followed by this piston, and then the block pops down, and then this pushes in, and then the rail's complete. So we can see that happening. You can see this piston retracts just before the block pops down. Upwards is actually easy. It's just that this goes out of the way, block pops up, and this goes in. This track actually automatically updates upwards, so it doesn't need to move when it's extending as such. The way it works is actually pretty simple. We have this to the double extender here, very, standard double extender setup there. It activates slow when it's pushing, and when it's pulling, it's very quick. That's because we have the two outputs, the two repeaters which go to here. So on the, just trying to think, because it's got an inverter in it. So when it's extending, this 4-tick repeater will stay on, so it will extend slower. And when it's, now I'll do that. When it's retracting, which is actually the opposite here because of the torch again. When it's retracting, it does so very fast because this repeater goes to there and makes it go very fast as such. Very, very simple there. The other components in here, we have a piston under here that acts as an updater, I would assume. Yeah. Yep, because we have this piston, we have 8 going to here, and then this piston extending updates this piston here. And on the downward edge, we depower it, and then this piston here updates it again. So they're just updating pistons. What happens with the other bit, and what did I break? Okay, just a sandstone block, I think. What happens on the other one? By the way, this is getting power from there, and I've probably broken it. Oh, I'm lucky. That gets power from the 1-tick repeater behind it. It comes through to here. Basically, it just comes up here and controls this out and in. That's pretty simple. But what happens with this piston, because it retracts and extends very, very quickly, that's because of this pulsar, which is just a dropper which fires an item upwards into the hopper. So for a second, this will be depowered. However long it takes for the hopper to respond, I think it's 2 ticks. I'm not really sure. Maybe it's 4 or 5 ticks or something. But however long the hopper takes to put the item back in the dropper, this will be depowered. So it will depower and then, it will retract and then extend again at the correct timing. So yeah, I think that's about, and yeah, that's it. Okay. Yeah, I was just thinking there was an extra bit to this piston, but there's not. It extends. This actually goes at the same time every time. So it retracts and then extends on the same delay both times. So that's really interesting. So he's made it very compact. I think it's a very, very nice design, I would say. And I think with that, I'm just trying to think where the power comes from. Okay. Because of this redstone block. Okay. So that's how, when they're flat, this redstone block powers all these ones. And when they're extended, these two repeaters power these trucks. Very, very nice. Very, very neat design, I think. I like it, really. So without any further ado, I'm going to wrap this one up. Thanks to Mumbo for this design. Very nice design, I think. Go check him out on the screen, in the description, of course. Also, go check out Dico. Same places. You know the drill. And I think that's about all I have to say for this one, guys. So hope you enjoyed this one, guys. Sorry for the lateness again. I'll try better next time. And have a good day, guys. Again, hope you enjoyed this one. Catch you next time.